Good morning everybody and welcome to Kinlochleven. We're just outside Glencoe. It's very, very cold. I've got my coffee and I'm here to tell you how you can save £2,500 and end up with the best beginner camera on the market, in my opinion. It's the camera I started using 2 or 3 years ago and I have no plans to change it because it does absolutely everything I need. Yes, there's a new model out, it has a few extra bells and whistles, but is it worth spending that extra £2,500? I don't think so, and I think you won't either by the end of this video. So watch on and I'll tell you what it is and why you should think about it. So here it is, it's the Canon R5. You can also get the Canon R6, the R7, the R1, the R2, 3, 24, 17. There's a whole host of them. But for quite a few years, the Canon R5 was one of the flagship models from Canon, and deservedly so because it pretty much does everything. So whether you're looking to shoot vlog, whether you're just looking to take photographs, this is a bit of a hybrid model. It shoots up to 8K, it shoots 4K in 120 frames per second, and it has loads of features inside that you might not be using yet, but it's good to know that they're there as you learn to use your camera. It has exposure bracketing, it does focus stacking straight out the camera, and it also, for those that are just starting out, it has a fantastic auto mode that takes great JPEG photographs that you can immediately upload to your social media. But if you scratch beneath the surface, this is just a truly amazing camera. Another great thing about the Canon R5 is that when you're starting out, you need to learn good technique, keep your elbows in, keep the camera nice and steady. But as you're learning that technique, the Canon R5 has in-body image stabilization. So even if you do have some micro judders in your shot, this will help smooth them out, and that's not a bad thing. The thing I immediately fell in love with when I got my Canon R5 was the ergonomics of it. The camera grip is just really, really good for my hands. I don't have overly small hands, but I don't have massively huge hands, but it just fits really, really nice. But what's perfect for me is the main buttons and dials that you use to control your ISO, your shutter, and your exposure are just perfectly placed under my forefinger, under my thumb, and there's a small dial just beneath my thumb. So once you've got the muscle memory, you know where the buttons are, and when you've got the camera up to your eye, it's very easy to make the changes to the exposure triangle whilst you're taking the shot, instead of having to take it down, have a look, fumble about with the buttons. It keeps you in the moment and it makes sure that you don't miss any shots. If you are a complete beginner and you are starting in the auto mode, then that's perfectly fine. But as soon as you start to look at the different modes that are available, such as aperture priority, your shutter priority, what you can then do is you can choose your creative element. You might want to have a slow shutter speed, for example. And if you set that as a shutter priority, whatever shutter speed you choose, the camera will then work out what the other setting should be. So again, keeps it nice and simple, but gives you a little bit more control over the camera. And that leads to more creative shots. And finally, before I move on and leave this beautiful valley of Glencoe, I just wanted to mention one other thing, and I can't remember what it is, so stick with me and I'll try and think. So before I leave the valley of Glencoe, there really is only one acid test as to how good this camera is and why you should buy it, and that is down to the footage and the photographs that it takes. So instead of me telling you how good they are and the fact that it's got a 46 megapixel sensor, let's just look at some photographs. Some of these were taken today, some of them were taken earlier, but it gives you a great example of what you can achieve with this Canon R5.
I don't like doing this bit, but if you've enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful, please consider subscribing and give the video a thumbs up. And if you want to join me in the comments, then I'll do my best to answer all of them. I always do. So we're back in the studio, and I know you've been waiting for this bit. So how do you save £2,500? Okay, it's not going to be a brand new camera, but we're going to look at buying a second-hand Canon R5 from an online store called MPB. Now this video is not sponsored by MPB, I don't even get a kickback, and unfortunately I don't have a discount code to give you, but I do find that they're a fantastic company to work with, and I've sold many lenses and I've bought many things from them too. Where MPB wins for me is it's not like any of your online marketplaces where you have that nervousness of buying something second hand, not knowing whether it's in good condition or not, and when you get it, are all the pieces there or is it broken? Because there's nothing more disappointing than, even if you do get your money back, going through that whole hassle to end up with something that you're not particularly happy with. MPB and sites like it take all of that hassle and worry away. Basically all you do is you go on their website, you put in what gear you're trying to sell, you give an honest appraisal of what the condition is like. Is it nearly new? Is it excellent? Is it good? And they'll give you a price there and then. And if you're happy with it, you accept it. They organise all the pickup, all the postage, you don't have to worry about insurance, and as long as when they receive your items they match the description you gave them, then they will pay you exactly the amount they said. Now you could get a little bit more if you did use eBay, Gumtree, that sort of thing, but it goes with a lot of hassle and, in my opinion, quite a bit of risk. Okay, so where does the £2,500 saving come from? Now, as I said, we're going to look at buying a second-hand Canon R5, and currently on the MPB website you can get one that is in excellent condition for about £1,800 or £1,900. Now if you compare that to the Mark II Canon R5, that is about £4,000, £4,500 online just now, so you can see where that saving really starts to rack up. But David, that's not comparing apples with apples. I get that, but what I would say is that when you look at the comparisons between the old R5 and the new R5, there is not that many differences that make it a huge leap up in technology. I'll put up on the screen what the main differences between the two cameras are, but probably for me it's a slightly more stickier and snappier autofocus system, but I've never struggled with the one on the original R5, and probably the most significant change is the fact that the original Canon R5 tended to overheat if you were shooting in 4K for any great length of time. Now again, I tend to shoot in 5 or 10 minute bursts when I'm doing vlogs. I don't do 1 hour, 2 hour long interviews where I've got the Canon R5 going, so therefore if that is something that you do, then you might want to look at something else. But if you're just starting out doing photography, you're looking to learn a new camera, you want to learn how to take photographs, then the Canon R5 in excellent condition for £1,800 for me is an absolute bargain. Ultimately, the most important thing when it comes to photography is taking good photographs, and your gear up to a point really doesn't matter. It's more important that you know how to use your camera and you know how to take a good photograph. And for me, the number one most important thing about taking photographs is knowing composition. And if you don't know how to set your photographs up, then I would watch this video here, because it gives you some great advice on how to compose your shots. You won't regret it.